Hiya guys, Nigel here with you with the long-awaited part 26 of this B52 Big Bad Buff build for beginners. I'm ever so sorry that it's been a while. What's it been, like a week or something since I put the last one out, and I've been sidetracked, as you know, with the Alexander Scale the Titanic brass and doing that on the Titanic and making it look better and this, that and the other, and taking some flack for it as well, but never mind. So basically, yeah, I've been sidetracked by that. It's Sunday the 15th of November 2020. So you're going to get this out today. So basically what you're seeing today is only a couple of hours old, because what I'm going to do on the bench now is what you're going to see in a couple of hours. So it's got to the time now where we're really sort of thinking about getting it all together and getting the wings on. I need to look at finishing off the sanding on the canopy, which we're going to do. But also something I hadn't thought of, something completely I missed out. I don't know if any of you noticed, certainly nobody commented. I never did any work on the intakes, on the engines. So that's what we're going to do now before we actually fit the wings. I've got them here still loose with the, you can see I've got the flaps all masked up and the little wingtip lights, wingtip gear all masked up, and the back end of the engines are still masked up without that polished metal finish. So what we're going to do is look at painting the engines. Now, I want to get something in there that's kind of metallic-y. I'll show you on the bench. The actual engines themselves are very, very simple. They have no compressor blade detail or anything. They're just flat. So what we need to do is try and put something in there that kind of doesn't show the fact that it's flat. So you don't want to go painting them bright silver, but also you don't just want it plain black. You want to get something in there to look at. So the plan is, what I'm going to do is make up a mix of XF85 rubber black and XF84 dark iron. Very, very small amount of this in the black. And then what you do, that will give us like a metallic black finish. And I'm going to spray that in there, let that dry, and then go in there with some washes. And my plan is to use like a Starship Filth, which is like a metallic grey. I've got a few of the Modeller's World washes now. They're really good. I'll see what I've got in them. But just kind of get a kind of metallic look in there without enhancing it too much to show that it's really crap in the detail front. So first thing we need to do is mask off the engines, mask off the surrounding areas. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that, and then we'll go from there. So let's get down to the bench, have a look at doing this. I'll sort my throat out, because as usual I start talking. We're on lockdown again in the UK. I mean, I went to visit my mum on Friday. Today is Sunday, and I haven't seen a soul since. So that's the way it is at the moment. But I'm not going to sit here and whinge about it because I'm lonely and sad. I'm not lonely, I'm not sad, and I sort of, in a way, kind of enjoy, in a sick way, I kind of enjoy these lockdowns, because it means I don't go to the pub or anything. It means I don't socialise and I don't see any friends, which is annoying, which is bad. And it does make you a little stir crazy at times. But the fact that I can't go out means I have to stay home. So if I can go out, I go out. I spend too much money, I spend too long out, drink too much, whatever. If I can't go out, I just have to stay home. So it's kind of an overseeing eye, if you like. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get to the bench and see what we can do with these engines. Okay, so here we are at the bench now, and we've got a few bits and pieces in front of us. So here are the engines, and as you can see, if the camera will focus, you can see the detail is pretty simple. There's nothing much in there at all. You could go in the beginning and cut the backs out and put some compressors in there, whatever. But you know, this is an out-of-the-box beginner's build, so we're not doing anything like that at all. But what we are going to do is use paint and wash to try and get some sort of something going on, and then we're going to give some put some chipping in there as well. So first things first, we need to mask off all this lovely camouflage and everything to prevent us painting any of the painting we've already done. Now, if it does get a bit on there, I'm not really going to worry about it too much, because basically this is going to get weathered. So what I need to do is determine how big the engines are. So we can use a rule, we can use a digital caliper, but I know that these intakes are 12 millimeters in diameter, just over. So we're going to cut holes 12 millimeters diameter, and we also need to know how far apart these are. So what we're going to do is have a look at this, and if you measure from one side, if they're circular, then you're okay doing this. If you measure from the left side to the left side, like this, we can see that they are 16mm apart. Rather than trying to find the centers, okay, we can see they're 16mm apart. So what I'm going to do is come over here. If they're 12mm, let's give it about, I don't know, about 13mm to the center. So let's go 13mm to the center. Okay, and then we're going to come 16mm apart. And then we want another 13 here. Right, and then we just mark a line down there. Okay, we don't need to mark a line, we can just cut it. Cut it. Right, so I've got my plastic compass here. These are really good, these little things. They're cheap and cheerful. You'll get them on Amazon and eBay, you get them in Hobbycraft and all that. I've had this for years and I absolutely love it. It's not the most rigid thing in the world. There's plenty more professional tools out there. But if all you're doing is cutting masking tape, then really it's really all you need. If you're doing your own masking for RAF roundels and stuff, then maybe get something a bit better. But certainly for this sort of thing, I've certainly never needed anything else. Let's put it that way. So we can go around here. Just cut out those two circles. Come along with the knife. Those down there. You could actually get a piece of acetate, so an old meat wrapper or something, and keep bits of like masking tape like that stuck on there, and then you'll have a range of circles for future use. Saves you having to make your own all the time, or keep remaking them once you've got them and you throw them away. So we'll take this one, and we'll take the wing, and just plop that on there like so. Just get it roughly in place. And then just stick it down. Oh, I've just shot on the news that our friend Des O'Connor's died this morning, so rest in peace, Des. You were a bloody great guy. And I think one of the big jokes was the fact that he had quite a good voice, but everybody always told him he couldn't sing or something. But yeah, he will be missed. He was a good guy. There we go. So that's that one done. So I'll go on and do now the other. I'll go on now and do the other three, and then I'll come back and we'll look at what paints we're going to use. Okay, so they're all masked up now. Just want to show you one thing. If when you do them you find you've got the hole slightly too big or whatever, you can just cut the tape like this, and then you can pull it in, and you can just tuck it in to where you want it, and then stick it down like so. There we go. Okay, so that's basically how we're doing that one. Right, so got my piece of paper towel now for testing. Got a little mixing cup. I'm going to be using Mr. Colour leveling thinners. You need to be careful with these mixing cups. Quite often you'll find these lacquer, well, they aren't lacquers or what, but they will attack these plastics, so you don't want to be hanging around too long with the paint in there. So what I'm going to do is use the Tamiya XF85, as I say, and the XF84. So I've got a brush here, so I'm just going to put just a couple of brushfuls of this in here. I don't need very much paint at all because I'm only going to be giving this a very light dusting. But you must remember that when you're mixing in a pot like this, half of the paint is going to stay stuck to the side of the pot. So you sort of have to, you know, account for that when you're actually mixing it up. So there's our rubber black in there. Now I'm just going to take a dab of the dark iron, and you can see, I don't know if you can, but that's going to give us, it's like a very dark metallic mix. Not so much like it's a piece of steel, or like it's a piece of iron. I'm just going to add some more black in there. And yes, I do put my brush back in the pot. I don't worry about it at all, because these colours, they're not like real colours where they're sort of set shades or whatever. You're not going to be matching them to anything else. They're just, with Tamiya paints, they're just basic colours, so I don't worry about mixing them up. Right, so we've got that there now. So we've got some paint. We'll put the lids back on our paint because we won't need that anymore. Okay, saves us if we're going to knock them over. And then I'm going to take some of the Mr. Colour leveling thinners and just thin this out, sort of roughly 50-50, maybe 70-30. As you probably know by now, guys, I don't fuss about ratios and everything, because as I've said so many times, people say, oh, I've tried this at 50-50 and it doesn't work. You know, well, yeah, leave the paint a year and then do it again. You know, the paint changes consistency. I mean, this one's fairly old. You can see it's quite thick. If you bought a brand new pot, then it would be slightly different. Now, as far as mixing consistency goes, you can see that there's no surface tension in this at all, so it's just coming off the sides. But you can see that it's not like a wash, but it is actually a very thin paint. Okay, so that's what we want. So we can just clean our brush off and pour this into the airbrush. Got some Mr. Colour Leveling Thinners in there already. Just pull that down through. Pour that into there. And as I said, you can see you've got loads left in there still. So but remember that when you're actually doing your mixing. And then, as usual, finger over the end of the tip. Just give it a little pull back just to blow back. And make sure there's no thinners left around the nozzle. Just check the flow, and you can see we've got a lovely flow there coming out. And I'm going to try and do this so you can see what I'm doing. Hold it like this. And I'm just going to basically come in here and just colour in that area. Again here. There we go. I've got so much in there. I'm going to be pouring some back, and I'll just put it in the dark iron, because what I tend to use dark iron for is tracks. So we're not actually after any specific shades for that, are we? I'm just going to go over them again just to make sure I haven't missed anything. There we go, happy with that. And then we can leave that to dry, and then we'll see what else we can do with it. I'm kind of doing this one on the fly. I haven't really planned what I'm actually going to do. I've got an idea of where we're going, but you know, you're watching me, my mind work this out as we go. It's trying to sort of just add a bit of interest. As you can see straight away, if I blow this back and dry it, you can see we've got a kind of a variation now in the colour away from the black. We've got this sort of greyish colour in there, which is what I wanted to achieve. So I'll get cleaned up and then I'll be back. Okay, so they've had 10 minutes now to dry, so we can just remove the masking and see how they look. And we can see that straight away we've got this contrast. It's hard to explain in words, but if you look at the black against that silver, you can see we've got a contrast. It's just a changing colour. That's all we're after, is just to make it look different. You know, just so it's not like a toy or something. And if we did get any overspray on here, come along with some you know, damp cloth with some water on it, whatever, and you should be able to rub it away while it's still wet. So there we go, happy with that. So that's our engines done. Now we're going to put some sort of wash in there once they're dry a bit harder. But in the meantime, I want to look at this this nose. Right, back to the nose, and if you remember, we've put a few applications of Mr. Surfacer on here. We've got the masking tape there, which is actually marking out where the frame is. So basically what we're trying to do is blend the clear into the grey plastic without a line. And that's what I've achieved. Now, if you look at the front of a B52D, E or F, they've got a distinct flat spot here, which sort of forms like a D shape there. And then they also have like a flat here, and there's definite sort of hips here. But I think I've got a bit too much of an edge there, so I need to soften that edge there, because that blends out. Now, I don't think this primer is actually No, it's not ready to be sanded yet, it's not dry enough. But basically I need to just soften out that edge there and blend that in. And the same here. So we've kind of got a, when we're looking at it from the front, we see sort of need a radius coming up either side into this definite chine here to give us that little flat spot in the centre. So I'm going to have to wait for that to dry. And the only way to look at it, because you've got the grey plastic, the clear part and the Mr. Surfacer, the only way to look at it is to prime it, otherwise you can't see it. The differences in colour takes your eyes away from everything. So I'm going to have to leave that now for an hour to dry, then I can sand it, prime it again, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so we've done the sanding now on the nose, and as you can see, I've rounded off this corner as it was here, and I've just basically used an 800 grit sponge and sanded it so that I leave this kind of D-shaped flat here, which is how a B52D actually is. When you look at it nose on, it has actually got a flat which is the same width as the windscreen, and it kind of comes down and then it blends into the radius here, so you end up with that kind of look like that. So I'm now going to give that another coat of primer, because as I say, we've got the plastic, we've got the Mr. Surfacer, we've got the primer, and we can't really truly see what's going on because of all the different colours. Now I'm concerned I may have a bit of a dip here. If I use a harder stick, this is one of the Flory skinny sticks, if I use that in there, okay, it's showing me that there probably isn't a flat there, so that's okay. So we can go over that with a sponge, just blend all this in and basically just radius it off. Now remember, the panes of glass are flat, or planes of perspex or whatever are flat, so remember this area here won't be radiused, it will be a flat, sort of becoming a radius if you like. You don't want a sort of nice posh rounded nose, it's actually all a series of flats. It's the same as I showed you before on the back here. This is flat, this is flat, this is flat, 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 and as you go all the way around, that's how it should be, flat all the way around, and no radiuses at all. So we can see there we've got a bit of a high spot there, there's a bit of a high spot here, so I can just sand that away until I get basically a flat, or near enough. I'm not going to sand it away so that I've got to do loads more work. As long as I've got near enough a flat panel there, okay, then we can come along with our sponge and blend all that in. Just blend it down into the sides. Okay, and as I say, we can't really see what's going on. You think you can, but you can't, because you've got Mr. Surfacer, grey plastic, probably a bit of clear plastic up here, and then we've got the grey primer, and it just makes everything look different, if you like. So when we give that just a coat of grey primer, we'll see how it looks, and hopefully it'll be perfect, and then we can unmask it, paint everything black, mask the windows up and go from there. Okay, so here we are, like 3 hours later or something, and I've been out in the garage, so well, my nails are okay. And basically there we go, we got the shape, we got the nice rounded area here, nice rounded area down the sides, bit of a hip, which is what it's supposed to have, bit of a hip here, and then that flat semicircular area in there. So I'm happy with that. So now we can come along and remove the masking tape. So I'm going to get a pair of tweezers. Notice I'm not using pointed tweezers for fear of scratching anything. So we could just come along and take this tape off and see what it looks like, because the next thing we're going to have to do is mask our clear parts. Remember we made the masks back about 27 years ago? That's what it feels like, isn't it? Isn't it? See? Bit of Welsh there. So basically, we've now got to mask our clear parts. And we can see that on the bottom of here, I don't know if you can see, but there's a bit of a step now. So we've actually made the window frame for the lower side of the canopy. And I will give you a close-up shot in a second. I'm just going to use the corner of a knife here to get under there. And just going in and pulling up. I'm not sliding across, I'm just going in and pulling up just to raise it. If you slide across, you risk scratching the clear part. So there we go. And you have to be careful when you take the tape off, because the paint is obviously dry, the filler's dry, everything's dry, and it may pull chunks out of it. So there we go, that's that done. So if I can show you now up here, when you look at it close up, we've actually got a step there where the window frame is, but everything else is all blended in. So we've got no sort of join line now from the canopy, and we shouldn't have any join lines around anywhere. So it should look like separate pieces of glazing put into the fuselage rather than having a frame around it. So what we need to do now is mask the canopy and then spray it all black, because obviously we want the inside of the frames to be black. I should have used black paint on here first actually, because if you look down, I don't think you'll be able to see it, but if you look down through there you might see the Mr. Surfacer. But I've actually got black Mr. Surfacer now. I didn't have it when I first got this. And also when I first did this, should I say, this Ed from Premium Hobbies kindly sent me some. I asked about the Mr. Surfacer Mahogany and Mr. Surfacer Finishing Surfacer, and he just sent me both, which was very good of him. So again, you can see with the primers and stuff, we're able to just remove them from the clear parts. It's one of the good things about using acrylic paints rather than the solvent paints or lacquer paints. If you use, like say, Viejo on here and your masking isn't that good, you can go around with a cocktail stick afterwards and remove the excess paint. So I have actually seen people completely, in fact I've done it myself, completely paint the canopy and then just scratch it off afterwards. And yes, you can get away with that. So there we go. So what we're going to do now is mask up our clear parts and go from there. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got our Premium Hobbies card, and I've got the mask stuck to that. If you remember, I cut them off and put them on here. And basically, I've just gone on and I've cut like a 1mm wide strip from the bottom of each of the forward pieces of glazing masking. So we'll see how they fit. So let's just see how these fit now. I may need to remove some more. We shall see. But what I'm going to do, because we're using Viejo paint, so I'm not going to worry about it too much, because as I've just said to you, a few minutes ago for me, a second ago for you, I've just said that you can actually rub the paint away. Now I need to take some more off of there. So basically I'm going to come up here, up to the top of that frame. I'm going to make a mark on the masking tape. Where I need to cut it. So we can lift that back out. Hopefully I'll be able to see the mark. If I can't see it, I should be able to feel it. There it is. Come along with our rule. Just cut that away. And we should be good to go. This is the problem with using like a business card and not a credit card. You can see it's delaminating. So you run the risk of having the card getting stuck on the back of your masking tape, which will stop it sticking. And I should be using my special tweezers, shouldn't I? I've got those special tweezers for masking tape. These things are really good. Sizo non-adhesive tweezers. And they don't stick to the masking tape. They're really cool. You've all seen it when you've got small pieces of masking tape and you pull the tweezers away and you can't put the masking tape down. But these things you can. It works really well. I'm going to have to go off camera and do this, guys, because I can't do this without my magnifier. So I'm going to have to go off camera, do this, and then I'll come back when it's all fitted. And there we go, all done. I've had to make a few little corrections, particularly across the top here. I'm worried that I don't really want to see this Mr. Surfacer when you look sort of through the glazing. I know that I put the black around the edge, which should prevent that. Also done a little bit of a clean up around here. We'll see if we've got anything showing after we do the camouflage and stuff, then we can just come in with a brush afterwards and touch it in. Also done the same mask up the back end there, so that's all looking lovely. And basically we're ready to put some black paint on these areas now. I need to also look at scribing this, but I'm not going to do it on camera because you don't want to hear the words that I'm going to come out with. And I've also got, it looks like I've got a issue with that seam perhaps. I don't know, we'll see. We'll get some black primer on there and we'll see how it looks. I'm going to use Viejo Black paint because I know that if it is bad, then I can come around with a toothpick and easily scratch it. So I'm going to use the Viejo, where is it? My black, here it is. Viejo Model Air 71057, or I could use the one from the Vietnam one. But I'm just going to use this and just spray it on because, as I say, I know that I can easily remove it with a cocktail stick if there's any over. And that's one of the beauties of this stuff. It doesn't stick very well to plastic, so it's easy to scratch off. Those tweezers are brilliant. They really are worth having. And you can see the bits of tape here that I've cut off. I've actually trimmed away the tape. If you have, if you are new to the hobby, I would suggest probably investing that couple of quid from Hannants and getting the masking set for it, because one of the hardest parts of aircraft modelling, there's no doubt about it, is masking. Especially with 70-second scale stuff like this. You know, you get something like a Haikel 111 or an FW 189, you're looking at like hours and hours and hours of doing this. One slip of the knife and you've ruined the clear parts. Masking sets are available for pretty much every model out there these days, and they really are worth having. They're much better now than they used to be. In the olden days, a lot of the, I won't mention any manufacturers' names, they just didn't fit. And also some of the materials they used, again, not mentioning any manufacturers' names, but they used a black vinyl. And I've got a couple of sets here, and once you've had them a couple of years, you get them out of the packet and they've all shrunk because the vinyl's shrunk. So they're absolutely useless because you put them on here and it's like, you know, if you got this square panel here, or rectangular panel should I say, if you had it central, you'd have like a 1/2 mil gap all the way around. So it's absolutely pointless having a masking set that leaves gaps. So basically, stick with your red hard ones, which have the kabuki tape, and also the I can't think of the make of them now, but there are a couple of manufacturers that use kabuki tape and not that vinyl stuff, but there are some better vinyls around these days that don't shrink so much. So let's get some black paint on there and see how it looks. A bit weird there, the bottle was clogged. I've never in my life had a Viejo bottle clog, which is a bit weird. I've got a fan on over here just to keep some air blowing across to keep the paint out of my face. That's why I'm having trouble putting the tissue down, as you can see. So just check the flow, and I'm just going to go over lightly. Just basically fog this on, and the reason we're doing this, as I say, is one is to see that our masking's good, and two is to basically see that we so that we get a black, when we look inside the glazing, we've got a black frame rather than the camouflage colours showing through. If this was like a British aircraft with interior green, you may decide to use you know, interior green or a grey colour. Just really check your references and make sure that you're spraying first spray your canopy with the colours that the actual inside of the glazing was. Now we can look on here. I'm going to turn that bloody fan off. Right, if we look on here, we can see that we've got a slight join down there, which I'm not going to worry about. We've got a slight join across the top, which I'm not going to worry about, and a slight join there, which again I'm not going to worry about. So I'm happy with that's looking. The bottom edge was the biggest pain in the bum, so that's all been sorted. This area around here, that's all been sorted. We've got some little bit of shrink back, which gives us a bit of a frame, so it gives us an idea where we can mask off. I'm going to basically be spraying those gloss black, as I will these glazing areas on the top here. So happy with that's looking. Let's go around the back now into the tail gunner. Again, just get some black paint on here. Build it up nice and slow, don't try and cover it all at once. Should we get some nice and there we go, that's that all done. So happy with that's looking. All the seam work around the edges is all looking good. And as I say, we can see some witnesses there of the seams around the canopy, but I'm not going to worry about that. That's absolutely fine. They're equal both sides. If you had a great big gap on one side and it was smooth on the other, then, you know, I would worry about it. But you can see we've got a very slight witness of a line at the bottom. We've got a bigger witness of a line at the top. And then when you look on here, there's a bigger witness of a line at the top and then nothing at the bottom. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave it at that. I could go in and put some more Mr. Surfacer in and sand it all out, but you know, this isn't a highly accurate build anyway. It's a beginner build. And I'm just going to put some black on here just so I can check. Where I did that scribing previously, it was a bit of a mess. You can see I've still got some scribe there, but I did actually go in and I'm just blowing it through now. I did actually go and fill the other lines I scribed with that masking tape. You don't fill scribe lines with masking tape, no? Use it with some super glue. So yeah, happy with that. I think that looks lovely. So I think an H looks better, but never mind, that looks quite good. We've got to replace these raised panel lines as well with some stretch sprues, so we'll do that next. Okay, so I've done that now, that panel line around the front, that's all done. And I did film it, and I've actually just deleted it even before I do any editing, because one, it was very, very boring, and two, I think I swore a lot. But basically it's very difficult because you're going sort of up a curve, up a slope, and then across a flat, and we got there in the end though, it's done. So basically we've got a raised panel line around the nose. There should be two there, but getting them absolutely dead parallel I think would prove very difficult, so I'm just going to have the one. It won't really show under the paint anyway. And we've got all these across the top. Now I need to do something around this area here, but I'm not really sure what to do. I think I'm sort of tempted to actually make a couple of doors out of like a 5 thou plastic card, glue them down, and then put some Mr. Surface around the edge, so they're just sort of a raised door, because scribing it is very, very difficult because of the shape, because it's all sort of curving away, but the doors would have actually been rectangular, so I'm thinking about making rectangular doors and just actually gluing them down. And also I need a sort of a mark around for where the windows go. So let me think about it, and I'll see what I'm going to do about that. I have actually got a couple of vac form canopies, so I could use those as a pattern, but we'll worry about that later on. So we're pretty much now the fuselage ready to get some primer on it. I do want to prime it all black before we fit the wings, because obviously handling it's going to be a lot easier. And I'm tempted to use the Mr. Surfacer black primer. I'm just looking at that there. I'm wondering if I've forgotten to sand that out, because it looks like there's a mark there. Nope, it's just in the surface. So we can put the fuselage to one side, and we can get these engines back over. I put them a mile away, and have a look at what we're going to do with these. Now they've all dried now. They've been about 3 or 4 hours, so they've all dried, and we've got that metallic-y sort of grey black colour in there. Now what I need to do is put a wash in there and also do a dry brush with some jet black. I want to highlight all the area around the veins and everything that are in there, the NGVs, the nozzle guide veins, and then I'm going to put a wash in there. Now I would normally do dry brushing with an enamel paint, but obviously if I put an enamel wash in there, I'll take all the dry brushing off. So what I could do is do the wash first, let that dry, and then do the dry brushing. But I want to get the black on there first, so I'm going to use X1 Tamiya Gloss Black for the dry brushing. Now this isn't really strictly true, you know, to form dry brushing. This is going to be kind of, I don't know, kind of detail painting, if you like. I'm just trying to choose a brush. I've got a Zucchini brush here. If you're thinking about getting these, there are better brushes out there. I don't 100% rate them. They kind of tend to splay out on the ends. I mean, I never abuse my brushes. I always clean them and wipe them along the bristles. I never sort of, you know, scrub them and stuff. But they tend to sort of, if you look on it, you can see on that one, the tip's all curled over, which is quite common with brushes. I'm just going to load it up, and then I'm going to get in here and just try and sort of dry brush these veins and everything. I just want to make them sort of pop out black over the... One of the other problems with dry brushing with acrylics is, of course, it dries so fast. I'm not really too worried about it going astray. See, that's dry already, that brush. You can hear it, it's gone hard. So this could take a while. But as I say, it's not strictly dry brushing. It's kind of dry brushing with the brush a bit wetter than it normally would be. And dry brushing with acrylics is not the best. You can see I've got some bits of black going everywhere. That's not going to hurt. It's just, if anything, it'll add to the effect. Just come around here. I mean, I could go in there and, you know, sort of really do some detailed painting and stuff, but to be honest, for the chipping we're going to do and the wash we're going to put in there, it's just not worth it. There we go. Whoops, banged into the fuselage then. It's one of the big issues with this aircraft, it's also big. And you know, I've got the cables off the phone and everything, or the camera as you should say. It keeps getting caught in them. There's a cable sort of hanging down directly in front of me. It keeps banging into the stand that the camera's hanging off. I must actually, when I get my proper camera, I'm going to build a gantry, I think, over the bench so that nothing's hanging down or supported off the wall. Everything's coming down from above, so it's nice and clear. I'm also thinking about completely remodelling this room. You know, to sort of make it more into a modelling room than a study, if you like. But I'm never really sure what to do, because I've got my paints off to my right, I've got tools to my right and left, and you know, it's difficult to know really what to do. I'd like to be working on an island in the middle of the room, you know, but then it's like, where do you put all your tools and everything so everything's to hand? That's something we can look into next year when the weather's a bit warmer. I want to get the carpet up and put laminate flooring down as well, because the you know, the carpet monster is one thing, but you can't roll the chair too easily over it. I used to get those carpet protectors, guys, and honestly, don't bother. They're bloody awful. I used to get them from Staples, and they just, after about a year, they got a year's guarantee on them. After about 14-15 months, they all start to split up, and the little plastic pins on the back of them come out, and you stand on it. It's like bloody standing on a piece of Lego. You know, if you're not wearing shoes, I never wear shoes around the house, ever. I often don't wear socks, let my feet breathe. Anyway, there we go, I digress. So that's that done. So that'll be dry in seconds. In fact, it's pretty much dry already. You can see the brush is very dry. So what we've done there is, as you can see, that it's just sort of given the engine a bit of a feature. The gloss black is actually standing out a lot more on camera than it does to the eye. So what I think we might do after we've done a wash, we might put a gloss black wash in the centre there, or some sort of black wash just to sort of make it pop. So there we go. So that's that done. Let that dry for 10 minutes and then we'll put a wash in there. Okay, so it's wash time for these engines. So I'm going to use oil washes, which I like to use. And these are a new range which have come out. They're available in the UK from Premium Hobbies, and Ed sent me over some to try out, and I really like them. What I really like about them is they are oil washes, but they don't have that horrible turpentine smell to them. They're a smell all their own. It's an unusual smell. I've never smelled anything else like it. I can't describe it, but it's not a particularly nice smell, but it's not as horrible as you know, turpentine. And we all know that if you get enamel thinners on a cloth and put it in the bin, it stinks the house out for days. But it's a kind of sweet smell. It's weird. So here I've got an industrial dirt, which is like a very dark grey colour, and then I've got dark grey for Panzer grey, and I've got one here. It says here light brown. That's a very light brown. You can see it's completely separated. We give it a shake and it will go again. And then this one's deep black. So I'm going to use, first of all, I'm going to use this, the industrial dirt. You can hear they've got a shaker in them. So I'm going to use the industrial dirt first around the actual veins, and then I'm going to use the deep black in the centre, and then we'll let that dry and then look at doing some chipping on them. And I think that's going to be it for this video. I want to let this get dry before we do the chipping. I think what we'll do is have a go at chipping these before we fit them, because it's going to be so much easier than when the whole model is built up. So we've got our two there. So I'm just going to get an old Tamiya jar, upturned Tamiya jar, give it a quick clean, make sure there's nothing on there, and then I'm going to put my industrial drop. They come with a little dropper on the bottle as well, which is nice. So you can just drop like that, a couple of drops. And I'm going to use it neat. I'm not going to thin it down anymore. They do actually do their own thinner for this, the Modeller's World thinner, which is, again, it's got that lovely smell to it. It doesn't stink like turpentine or anything. I've done a review of it and I did some trials on camera so you can see what's going on. So here we've got this wash on the brush, and I'm literally going to put some in every... I'm probably going to have to make some more up, or make some more up. I'm going to have to pour some more out. I'm going to put some in every quadrant here, and hopefully what it will do is leave a sort of metallic-y sheen in the centres, because it's got this metallic-y sort of shade to it, and then build up in the corners. Now if we don't get the required metallic-y shade I'm after, then I may well use some of the Absalon Starship Filth, because that generally tends to leave a bit of a metallic-like shade behind. But we'll see. I think this is going to do the trick. I've used this on another model which I haven't released on video yet. I'm saving that one for when this one's done. And I've used it on some interior parts, and it's come out really nice. Okay, so we'll let that dry and we'll see how that looks. I'll just do these others here while I'm on camera. As I say, I'm going to call it a day once I've done this, once I've done the black in the centres. Not sure how long this video's been, guys. I'm sorry it's been so long before I've done anything. But we will get back into this. As I say, I've been sidetracked with that Titanic because Alexander has been good to send me the parts, and it's given me a lot of help and information and stuff. And I'm putting together videos that he can share, and sort of really abusing his PE products to see what they will withstand, with the annealing and the different glues and bending them and pulling them about and everything. So there we go. Hopefully I can get enough out of this. Don't want to waste any more. Okay, so there we go. So we can just run some around the edges now. And that should dry to give us a nice metallic-y sort of shaded look in there. I don't know if you can see it happening already, but we are kind of getting... This camera doesn't really show effects very well, but basically what we've got is it's darkening up around the edges and leaving a sort of grey sheen in between, which is what we're looking for. So now I'm going to get just clean the top of this these old Tamiya pots are great for, or even new Tamiya pots. They're great for doing stuff like this, you know, for mixing up any paints or anything. Got to drop on the... Just one drop. That's all we need. Just clean that up. This looks very black. I'm just going to put this in the centre. This would be great for grills and stuff. See how that looks when it dries. I think that's going to look really good, because there is like a sort of a mesh effect in the centre of these engines, and this will pick it up, I think. And it's all about subtlety. We don't want to be too garish. We don't want to make it all stand out, because the detail is quite crap, to be honest. So we don't want to make it stand out, but we want to make it look like it's an engine and not just a blob of plastic. So right, we'll leave that like that and let that go off. And that, for this video, will be that. Now today, as I say, is Sunday the 15th. I will endeavour to get another video out midweek, so sort of by Wednesday if I can. And we'll start looking at chipping these engines, and I want to start getting the wings mounted to the fuselage. Once we've got the black primer on the fuselage, I may do the black primer off camera because you've all seen me painting, but maybe I won't, because I'll probably be using some different paints. So yeah, I will actually do that because I'm going to be showing some different paints. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'm sorry if this has been a short one. I don't know how long it's been. I know we haven't really done very much, but it's been quite time consuming, and this is the way the modelling goes. You know, it might take you 10 minutes to put a pair of wings together and then 2 hours to correct the seams. So this is the way it goes. All this with canopy masking and filling and all that, it takes a while, and you have to wait for things to dry. But that is one of the main things with this. This area around here, you know, I did all that with that Mr. Surfacer. If I'd just done that and left it, and then, sorry, if I'd just done that and then come straight in and started sanding it, and then sort of started putting the top coats on, by now we would have a sink line. And if you remember in my last video, I showed you how it shrunk. So yeah, we know now that we're not going to get any shrinkage because it's already done all its shrinking. If it does shrink, it's going to be very, very slight. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all very soon with part 27. And in part 27, we're going to get the fuselage painted, and probably, I'm 99.9% sure, we're going to get the wings on. So that's going to be quite a big one. See you soon. Thanks for watching. Happy modelling and stay safe. Bye for now.